Hello, welcome to Business Live. Coming up tonight, government charged to use extra revenue from Ghana's crude oil exports to cushion consumers as fuel prices are expected to go up by more than 4% from Wednesday. We'll hear from the Executive Secretary of COPEC, Duncan Amwa. Also coming up, Bank of Ghana urged to reduce banks' investments in government bonds as interest rates begin to soar. And President of Celtel Networks, Dr. Prince Kofi Klujasin, speaks on the e-levy controversy. He says passage of the bill should not be based on political affiliations.
The e-levy, what is it? I don't see what it is. If you have to pass it, all you need to do, it does not have to be MPP or NDC, because once you go in that parliament, they are parliamentarians.
New week, same stories. Thanks for joining us here on Business Live. My name is Darryl Kwao. We're bringing you more on those stories and others in this half hour of business news. Stay with us. Crude oil hovering around $94 a barrel. We won't begin with that tonight because government is being urged or asked to use improved revenue from crude oil exports to cushion consumers. New data from the bulk oil distributors show that fuel prices are expected to go up by over 4% a litre from Wednesday. Now, the 2022 budget pegged a barrel of crude oil at $62.5, but with the commodity trading at a high of almost $95 a barrel, government is said to have made some windfall. We will speak with the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, Duncan Amwa, in a bit. First, this report.
The expected increments has been influenced by the current development on the world market that has seen the price of crude oil cross the $90 mark per barrel. There are even fears that it could hit $100 a barrel by the end of this month. Based on data seen by Joy Business, we expect about 3 pesos jump for the price of petrol per litre and about 4 pesos jump in the price of diesel per litre. Again, based on our engagement with some major oil marketing firms, they argue that it might be difficult to absorb the expected increase, while some have maintained that they may pass on a moderate hike to consumers, looking at maybe around 2 pesos per litre increase. But for some, they argue that the time has come for government to intervene to help cushion consumers. This is based on the fact that prices of petroleum products could be going up further because of the price movements of crude oil on the international market. Many will also be worried about the impact of this on the cost of living and could also lead to inflation rate going up further. With this increment, the price of petrol and diesel could be getting closer to the 8 cedi mark.
All right, let's speak with Duncan Amwa, who is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. He has been reacting to the latest news of fuel price increases. He says the extra revenue can be used to support importers and distributors of fuel to cushion consumers. Great to have you tonight on Business Live. So tell us a bit more about the point you're making. All right, we'll get right back to Duncan Amwa once we are able to establish contact with him. But let's move on to another story we're following for you tonight. Interest rates have started going up, but marginally, as the challenges within the fiscal economy reflect on the monetary economy. According to auctioning results from the sale of treasury bills, interest rates of short-term financial instruments went up slightly. Charles Nixon Yabua has more.
Its position of keeping interest rates low, government has now been forced to revise its notes by accepting a slightly higher yield for the short-term financial instrument. This is to help meet its target by attracting more domestic investors. It also suggests that the domestic market is still strong despite the recent downgrade of Ghana's creditworthiness by Moody's and Fitch. According to the auctioning result, the interest cost went up by about 0.20%. Government, however, secured a little above 1.51 billion cedis, but accepted 1.50 billion cedis from the sale of the T-bills. Government will be happy because it marginally overachieved its target. The 91-day T-bill was the highly patronized. About 957 million cedis was purchased by the investors. However, with the rising interest rate of T-bills, cost of credit will soon start going up, therefore increasing the cost of doing business.
So what are the implications of interest rates going up? Well, Chief Finance Officer at the Valley View University, Dr. Williams Pepa, says it will negatively impact on local production, leading to unemployment. He's calling on the Bank of Ghana to reduce banks' portfolio invested in government bonds.
Impact of this situation is that it's going to have an increase in cost of doing business in the country, especially when it comes to cost of production. Also, we will see banks not giving money to production entities, but rather have a leeway or a flexible way to invest in government bonds. This normally is termed as a structural weakening when the economy becomes in a way that the commercial banks are not prevent or refuse to lend money to industries to produce. The other effect that this will bring is that there will be low motivation when it comes to production houses to also produce more. You may also see that companies with excess liquidity also investing in government bonds. And in fact, it's really going to affect production, and also it is going to lead to an unemployment situation because industries will not have the fund to employ. And when it happens that way, our unemployment situation is going to be worse. Already we have about 50% of our graduates who are unemployed because there is liquidity shortfall in the country. And what we can do as a country to remedy this situation, in my opinion, we should have a cap on commercial banks' operation in terms of interest and their profits that they can generate.
All right, I want to take you back to our earlier story to do with fuel price hikes and how the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers thinks that consumers can't be cushioned. Executive Secretary of COPEC GH, Duncan Amma, joins me, and so he was making the point about using the monies we make from fuel exports to cushion consumers. Explain to us as how exactly that would help the consumer if that money is used to sort of mitigate the costs.
Well, Darrell, good evening and thanks for having me once again. You have a situation on our hands as a country. Petroleum price increment is simply threatening to erode every economic gain that the government could possibly point a finger to, simply because cost of living is rising by the day. Inflation that used to be single digit today is hovering around 13.9. Clearly, things are getting bad, and fuel pricing accounts for a lot of the economic misalignment we have currently. So we do think that it is in the government's interest to find an immediate solution to these increases. The question has often been asked, what can the government do? We've put policy papers together for Finance Ministry. It's not been attended to. We are again putting to government that the 2022 budget, as far as our petroleum export, the crude that we produce from Takoradi and the other fields to export, we had projected within the budget $62.5 a barrel to augment our budgetary expenditure. And so when you wake up and it's 70, it's 80, Those additional monies are called windfall revenues. Government could simply safely decide that between 62.25 to 94.95 currently, you are dealing with over $30 a barrel. If government decided I'm applying $10 a barrel to the local market, it should suffice to be able to cushion the bulk distribution companies, the BDCs who import fuel for all of us. Why we say this, Darrell, prices are set to go up again by 20-30%.
Right.
Once that happens, by 4-5%. Once that happens, there is a new benchmark value of 7.78, 7.8. And because fuel prices are incremental, if you have to now even reduce from 7.8 by another 30, you now come to 7.5. You do not much. But if you're able to sustain it at 7.5 or 7.2 or 7.3, anytime you need to come down, you easily go into the 6th region. Unfortunately, we wait week in, week out for government interventions which never come. Unfortunately, again, government also happens to be the largest consumer within the country. Talk of the Office of Government Machinery, talk of the ministries, departments, agencies, talk of all other governmental functionaries, talk of the executive, the legislature, talk of the judiciary, who also depend on financing as far as their fueling is concerned. Government consumes a lot. And so if you would spend 500 million Ghana cedis within a year, because fuel was probably 5 cedis a liter, when it goes to 7 cedis, it goes to 8 cedis, governmental expenditure would simply rise by that much, 700, 800. Again, cost of goods and services, contracts, the cost of building roads per kilometer would simply shoot up astronomically. The cost of services, goods and services to government agencies would definitely take a chunk of the revenue that finance ministry purportedly is looking to save. So you would save, and the expenditure a bit will come and consume or wipe out everything. So we think that instead of using these windfall revenues as savings, government should take a bold decision and apply part of the windfall revenue to the BDCs who import fuel and say, look, we've seen a certain increase of $20, $30 per metric. How many metric are we taking within a month? 40,000. Multiply that, that's about $12 million. Okay, we'll find the money somewhere for you. So don't increase pump prices, because if BDCs don't increase, the OMCs have no business adding on. So if you are able to hold the BDC position from going up, you've saved the entire Ghanaian economy. Unfortunately, Darrell, those interventions have been long in coming, and as we speak, so until something changes, in a day or two, Ghanaians are going to wake up to another adjustment in pump prices. We don't think this is what the government itself would want to see happen. So,
and I get you on the point. I get you on the point that fuel prices are going up, and it's going to have an impact on just about everything. Then again, the government is trying to save some money to make up for the crisis it is in with this debt, and so you just wonder how they're going to go about it. It's a dilemma, sort of. Your thoughts?
Darrell, I have explained. Government would need money to make do its commitment on our loans, external and internal borrowing. Government will also need money to make do on its recurrent expenditure, not capital expenditure. The recurrent expenditure, fuel will factor largely. Capital expenditure, fuel would factor largely. And so if government intends, like we have done projections to the extent that for 2021, windfall values that accrue to the state was hovering around 2.5 billion Ghana cedis due to the variations in what we projected and what the actuals were on the international market. If you do a 2.5 billion Ghana cedi saving,
okay,
right, an Office of Government Machinery budget alone doubles from, let's say, 1 billion to about 2.2 billion or 3 billion. That expenditure line item alone would have wiped out every single peso that you would have saved from the windfall revenue. Mind you, government contracts would also increase. I'm talking of capital expenditure items would also increase.
Okay.
Cost of living for everybody in the country would go up. And so we think that that saving of 2.5, as opposed to using that to offset the variations that could stabilize or reduce fuel prices. If you ask any sound economic thinker, I'm sure they will go for the former, because it would definitely make sense to save the economy than to save the revenue, and then the economy is also in some jeopardy.
And I guess it makes sense, and I hope that they consider it. Thanks very much indeed, Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of COPEC, for your thoughts tonight on Business Live. Now, President of Celtel Networks, Dr. Prince Kofi Klugeson, says passage of the e-levy bill should not be based on political affiliations. According to him, it only requires a belief in the policy for the lawmakers to approve the bill. There's more in this report by Beverly Broom.
Speaking to Joy Business at the 17th graduation ceremony of Blue Crest University College, Dr. Prince Klugeson said the bill is still pending in Parliament because members of Parliament do not believe in the policy.
You see, the e-levy, what is it? I don't see what it is. If you have to pass it, all you need to do, it does not have to be MPP on NDC, because once you go in that parliament, they are parliamentarians. In the US, in many countries, all that it takes that if the person, the MP in NDC or MP, believe in the policy of the government, you can cross-campaign and vote for it. Why do you have to be whipping people to do that? I don't see it.
Dr. Klugeson added that the Akufo-Addo-led government, before assuming office, made a plethora of promises, but the current happenings do not represent his vision for the country.
A lot of the issues that are going on right now does not form part and parcel of the president's vision. You see, so when there is a vision out there, and they say, I will do this and I will do that, and somebody start changing it, there's total confusion. You see, so if you would have implemented only that during the last 4 years, all the districts would have collected over $4 million, over $1 billion and over dollars, which they are looking for today for e-levy.
Meanwhile, Rector of Blue Crest College, Professor Anand Agrawal, wants the structure of education changed to suit the digital age. He described the educational system in Ghana as traditional.
So the biggest gap is the way of teaching and learning. The approach is very traditional. And that is why there is a lack of providing the practical application-based learning for the skill development of students. That is why at Blue Crest we have started flipped teaching, student-centered teaching, blended teaching and learning, and experiential methods of teaching and learning, which provides practical application-based skills to the students. This is what is needed in whole of this region. That is why we are transforming education.
You're watching Business Live. Still to come, we'll tell you about a national honey production and investment policy which could rake in trillions of dollars for the country.
An industry that our beekeepers, just as it was said in the World Bank report, that if African farmers are able to uptake high skills and also adopt technology, they would be able to attain $1 trillion by 2020.
All right, welcome back to Business Live. Honey producers in Ghana will soon get a policy to regulate the operations of the business and its export. Now, this was disclosed by Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison. According to him, implementing the National Honey Production and Investment Policy will enable the country achieve a $1 trillion sector in 2030, projected by the World Bank. Mr. Morrison spoke to Joy Business after the launch of the Make Ghana's Honey Fit for Export project.
Chief Executive of the Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony Morrison, has indicated that for Ghana's honey industry to be competitive on the global market, there is a need for the implementation of a policy. According to him, discussions are ongoing to implement the National Honey Production and Investment Policy to give Ghana a comparative advantage on the international market.
It's very important that we are starting with this for now. There are other programs that the Chamber of Agribusiness and its partners in Germany are initiating that is going to work to harmonize the current activities and also to engage the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to design a national honey production and investment policy. We need to have an industry that our beekeepers, just as it was said in the World Bank report, that if African farmers are able to uptake high skills and also adopt technology, they would be able to attain $1 trillion by 2030, which is 8 years more to go. So we believe that the honey industry serves that purpose.
The CSIR Food Research Institute launched the Make Ghana's Honey Fit for Export project. Project coordinator Dr. Courage Besa Adanu revealed that the project is to determine the kinds of honey produced in the country and to give guide in the formulation of standards for the sector.
We wanted now to scale the analysis not only to one region but across the country, so that as scientists we can be able to define the honey that we have, so we can profile them and know what we have. Then our formulation of standards can be in the right place. Then we can be able to package our honey very well, so that you, for instance, who is skeptical about buying honey, all your doubt will be cleared. Then also we can be able to enter premium markets like the EU.
Chairman of the Beekeepers Association, Patrick Ado-Newman, expressed his excitement for the launch of the project. He believes the project will upscale honey production in Ghana.
This particular project that has been launched is going to help our industry to grow. Some of us have been in the industry for the past 30, 40 years. And we realize the industry is still where it is. But with this project being launched, we are now going to be able to identify the type of honey we produce. And with this project, we'll be able to test and know the type of honey we are producing for the market. Apart from that, we are not able to export. We are not able to produce to even feed the local market. Coming in this project, because of the genuineness of the honey we produce, and then the importance and the medicinal value that we note, the people out there are going to make sure that they take and chase our honey.
Well, that's our program tonight. There is more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. There's more on our top story there about the fuel prices and about interest rates going up. My name is Darryl Kwao. Thanks for watching. We're back same time tomorrow.